Hey guys, how's it going? I hadn't been around for a couple of weeks. I had pneumonia, and today I'm just starting to feel a little bit better. So it's great to see you guys. I hope you enjoyed that little ride over to Mr. Wilson's garage. You know, he's an awesome guy. Him and I, we built so many cars together, and it's just so much fun working with him. So hopefully we'll get together again, maybe put another car together, it'd be nice. But what I wanted to do tonight is, I try to post some every Friday night. What I want to show you guys, and don't hold it against me, I'm going to show you a bunch of cars that I painted with Rust-Oleum paint. And you would not believe how easy it is. And the only thing you really got to do to the paint, because you have to add a hardener to it. If you don't add a hardener to it, it's going to stay gummy. If you add a hardener to it with a little shine enhancer, that stuff's bulletproof. It's amazing how strong that stuff is and how easily it goes on. You know, all you really have to do is just prep the car, take it down, any rust or anything. I know people that paint right over the rust. I wouldn't do it. You know, you the whole car down. You clean it up really nice, touch up any of the body work. I go to Harbor Freight. I buy one of the $15 guns, and I'll shoot a car, and I just take that gun and throw it right in the garbage. Because for some reason, you just can't clean that Rust-Oleum out of that gun and have it shoot the same way as it does when it's brand new. So for $15, I throw it right in the garbage. And I'll buy a couple of them, especially if they're on sale. I'll buy a few of them, and I'll just use that. So I want you to take a look at this Camaro. I bought this Camaro from a gentleman, and I really wish he would have left it in the garage. I found this car. It wasn't a garage. It was a barn, actually. It was a farm. So I wish he would have left it in there so I could show you how the car was. But he had this car sitting. It had to be 25 years at least, he told me. He didn't have the motor in it, but he had the motor. He had the tranny. And, you know, he started on certain things, and he bought some parts for the car. I got the car with a bunch of parts. You'll see in the video all the parts that I got with the car. And I got the car, and I started putting the car together. And take a look to see what I did with this car. All right? Let me know what you think. Here we go. All right, so I bring the car home. The car needed rear frame rails. It needed floor pans. The rockers were in really good shape. It wasn't a bad car, and you'll always hear me say, you know, it looked bad, but it wasn't as bad as it looked. And that was the case with this car too. It really wasn't that bad. You know, it just needed a little bit of work. So I start putting the car together. I get the motor and tranny in the car. I get it up and running, and it's sitting in my driveway. And like I say, you know, sometimes I just sit back, I scratch my head, what am I going to do with this car? So, you know, I had already painted a car with Rust-Oleum, and it came out pretty good. So, there I am, early in the morning. I look around, none of my neighbors are home. So I roll the car out in the street, and I paint it. And this is how the car came out. Here we go. That car only took about 25 minutes to paint, maybe 30 minutes. It probably took me longer to mix it than to paint it. So you have to thin it out. You know, get a paint thinner or something like that, and you add some hardener to it, and you add a shine enhancer. And there's no formula to it. You know, I'll thin it out to where it's just, you know, it just runs through the gun nice and smooth, and that's it. I mean, it's that easy to paint Rust-Oleum paint on a car. It was amazing. But that car had all new interior. I did the trunk, new fuel system, brakes, exhaust. That car was everything was new in that car. That car ran and drove beautiful. The top on that car was the original top to it. The car didn't have a lot of miles on it at all. It was just one of those cars that sat in a garage, sat in a barn, and it was just never finished. You know, the gentleman, he was starting to get a little older, you know, a little up there in age, and he just lost interest in the car. So I bought it, and I put that car together. So I just want to show you some of these cars. You know, I try to show you some really, really budget builds because you don't have to have a lot of money to put these cars together. You know, I don't have deep pockets. This is as deep as my pockets are. You know, I don't have deep pockets. You know, and I always learn to do everything myself because I can't afford to pay anybody to do anything. So it's either, you know, try to get good at it or just don't do it, I guess. I don't know. But I always had an interest in doing it. So I would always move on. You know, I'd always find something else to spark my interest to see what I could do or if I could do it better. You know, but that was a nice little car. Ran and drove beautiful. And I saw that car for sale probably about 2 years after I painted it, and it still looked the same. Didn't look any different. The hockey stripe was a decal. I put all new emblems on it. I had to clean the back glass. I think I might have changed the back glass, and I had a zip out glass because I got a little overspray on it. But everything else, I got to tell you, the car didn't look bad at all. You know, it was just a fun project. And, you know, that was pretty much it. That's that 69 Camaro. It wasn't a Super Sport. I SS cloned out that car just to give it a little bit of jewelry. Make the car look a little neat. So that was a fun build. So here's another car right here. I came across this car right after that red convertible that I painted. And it was a 68 Camaro that was sideswiped. The fender, the door, and the quarter panel, it was just completely like the car it was either sideswiped or it just ran down a guardrail or something like that. So it looked pretty bad. And the gentleman who owned it, it sat in his garage, buried in the back of his garage. He never did anything with the car. So I get a hold of the gentleman. Like I say, these always start out, there I am, having my cup of coffee. So I get a hold of the gentleman, and I'm talking to him. He's like, you know, Al, this car's only got like 40,000 original miles on it. It was a 6-cylinder car. I'm like, no kidding. He's like, Al, he's like, you would be surprised how clean the bottom of this car is. He says, it looks terrible, but it's not terrible. And he was right. So, you know, just talking to him, going over the whole car with him, it came with a quarter panel, was just hanging there. And he's like, Al, I got a lot of the parts to put this car together. I just don't have the ability to do it. And he just didn't want to do it. He's like, Al, the car sat so long, I just don't have any interest in the car anymore. I said, all right. So I get a hold of Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson's like, you know what, I'll go get the car for you. So he picks the car up, it's snowing out. He calls me up, he's like, Al, you're not going to believe how clean this car is. It's amazingly clean. It's like, all right, great. So he brings the car to my house, drops it off. I'm going over the car, and it needed a whole driver's side from the front bumper to the rear bumper. So I ripped it all off. It took me a little while to align everything up, but I got it aligned pretty decent. And it ran and drove beautiful. It's a funny story about that car. It ran and drove beautiful. So there I am. I'm sitting back, I'm looking, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I've already painted a car red. And, you know, I'm like, I painted one white already. So this car was originally white. That was the original top in that car too. So I'm like, you know what? There I am, early in the morning. My neighbors aren't home. I roll the car out into the street. That car took me about 30 minutes to paint it. I paint that car. Take a look and tell me what you think of this car. Here we go. Yeah, that was another car I painted in the street. I'm telling you, if you take your time with Rust-Oleum paint, and I'm not pushing Rust-Oleum paint, I'm really not. And I'll show you there's another car I believe I have in here that I painted with regular automotive paint too. But the story on that car, the car was, he told me the car was sideswiped. It was hit hard, all the way down. I mean, the panels were just terrible. So, it took me a little while to get everything aligned, but I got it aligned pretty decent. And the funny story about that car was, he told me, I was like, that car's got to be sitting in my garage close to 30 years. Like, no kidding. I think he said it was 40,000 original miles. You would not believe, I put gas in that car. It started right up and it idled. I couldn't believe it. It had brakes. All the fluids were fine. I couldn't believe it. But of course, I changed all the fluids and everything like that. I just went through the car. I drove that car around the block. I was like, wow, this thing really rides like it's got 40,000 miles on it. So I finished the car off. I put that reverse hockey stripe. That was a sticker on there. I drew a set of rallies on it. Just to doll it up, give it a nice chance for somebody to really want to buy it and drive it. So I bought the car. I put the car together. I got the car up and running. I went through the brakes and everything. A gentleman bought that car from me, and I told him everything about the car. I said, this car's been off the road 30 years. He's like, no kidding. He's like, how does it run and drive? I go, it runs and drives beautiful. So he's like, okay. He's like, because I'm going to pick the car up and take it for a 3-hour ride back home. I was like, well, listen, I have a restored 69 Camaro, and I don't know if I would take that for a 3-hour ride, I mean, they're old cars. Anything can happen. So he comes over with the plates and everything. He loved the car. He throws the plates on the car. He drives it to Pennsylvania over 3 hours. He calls me up when he gets home. He's like, Hal, you're not going to believe it. He's like, that car rode like a brand new car all the way home. He's like, I love driving that car. I'm like, it's the perfect car. It really is. So that was a nice car. And like I say, they always start out. There I was in the morning, having my cup of coffee. I came across that car. I'm like, wow, it seemed like a nice car. The underneath of that carriage, the undercarriage of that car, I don't even think it was dirty. It was unbelievably mint. It wasn't clean. It was mint. So it was really, really the right car to put back together. So, that's just another car that I painted with Rust-Oleum. So now I did a white car. I did a red car. That red, as a matter of fact, it's called safety red. So I did a white car. I did a red car. And you know me, I got to paint the car black. So I come across a 69 Camaro. The body was pretty straight. I had to do an exhaust system in it, all the brakes. I wish I had some of these pictures of some of these cars when I first got them, as I was doing the work to them, but I lost so many pictures. So I'm just trying to piecemeal it together. So I come across this 69 Camaro. I'm like, okay, here we go. I've already tried a few other colors. Let's try this color. So I end up, there I am in the morning. My neighbors are gone. I said, all right, here we go. Let's roll this car out in the street. So I roll the car out in the street and take a look at this car. I like that car. You let me know what you think. Here we go. Yeah, that wasn't a bad car. I put the SS hood on it. I did all the SS trim. I just add jewelry to it to make it look, to make it look nice. I did the interior in the car. I did the exhaust system, and I put new wheels and tires on the car. The car was all finished, and my buddy calls me up. He's like, Al, I heard you got a 69 Camaro. I said, yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. So, and I added the vinyl top to the car, too, just to give it that triple black look, which I always liked. So my buddy calls me up. He's like, I heard you got a 69 Camaro, blah, blah, blah. I go, yeah. I said, but listen, I painted this car in Rust-Oleum. He's like, how does it look? I go, you come over and take a look and you tell me what you think. So he came over and looked at it. He loved it. He's like, I can't believe this is Rust-Oleum. I said, yeah, it is. So my buddy bought that car. He kept that car for about 2 years, and he sold it to another gentleman out of state. and that car looked the same in 2 years as it did the day I painted it. So the Rust-Oleum paint will last. It'll hold up. So, you know, it wasn't bad, and it's crazy how easy it is to paint it with that. You know, it eliminates the priming part. You got to take the whole car down. You got to scuff the whole car down and go through it, because once you put the paint on it, that's it. That's the final look. So you really got to make it look good before you put any color on the car. And it was an easy car to paint. It was a fun car. That was a fun build. It didn't take long at all to put that car together. I just enjoyed it, you know. And that's one of the things. I enjoy putting these cars together. And that was a lot of fun. I found that car sitting. It ran. I can't say anything bad about that car. That car ran. That car sat probably for about 5 years. And it was a 350, turbo 350 tranny, 10-bolt rear. And it was nothing special, but it just had that cool factor to it, I thought. So my buddy bought it. He loved it. He drove it for a little bit, and then he sold it. And it was just a fun build. It really was. So now here we go. There I am, having my cup of coffee. And I didn't look for anything. I started to look. My phone rings. It's a friend of mine. He's like, "Hey, Al, you know, I got this car I'm looking to get rid of." I go, "What is it?" He tells me what it is. I'm like, "No kidding." He's like, "I started the body work on it. It's almost ready. You know, it needs some final touch up and everything, but I just don't want to be bothered with it. He just ran out of steam." He's like, and it happens a lot. I know, I get it. You know, you get so deep into a project, you're like, forget it. It just takes all the wind out of your sails, and then you just forget about them, and then you push them on down the road and let somebody else finish. And I'm the guy that you don't want to see walking up your driveway. I'm like the Grim Reaper when I walk up your driveway, because I'm usually the guy that's going to buy it and finish it, you know. But so I go pick up the car, and it wasn't bad. So I bring the car home. I just touched up the body, and there I am having my cup of coffee. It's early in the morning. None of my neighbors are around. I'm like, okay, here we go. So let me show you what I did. Here we go. So I had some safety red left over from the other car that I painted. Those cars, I buy a gallon of that stuff. And you can probably do you can easily do 2 cars with 1 gallon. I mean, the coverage is great. It just lays on really good. And I'm not pushing Rust-Oleum, believe me, I'm not. But I just try to show you some of the low budget builds that you can do and still have a good looking car, you know, because a lot of times you don't have to shoot the lock off your wallet to get these cars to look good. You know, but that was a nice car. That was a 350, turbo 350 tranny, 10-bolt rear. I added the vinyl top because I just thought it broke up the color really nice. I did that vinyl stripe down the side, the hockey stripe. I added all the SS trim on the car just to give it that, I guess, cool factor. I don't know. But it really just brought the whole car together. And that was a nice car. That car ran and drove beautiful. I did the interior in the car, you know, the normal exhaust system, brakes. You know, I go through the whole car, make sure it's a nice, good running, driving car. So whoever buys it, they can jump in it and drive it home. Not like a lot of stores when you go to look at a car and you go look at it. I'm like, all right, can I drive it home? I'm like, nah, you probably want to trailer it. I'm like, why? Well, you know, because, you know, I haven't gone through the brakes, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. You know, if you hit the brakes, it pulls to the right or something, you know. So I try to eliminate all that. This way you can legitimately jump in the car and drive it home. So that was a fun build. So those are some of the cars that I had done in Rust-Oleum paint. There was a few other cars too that I had done in Rust-Oleum paint. I'm going to show you. I can also paint the car with regular automotive paint too. So one day, here I am, cup of coffee, I come across this Camaro, and it was about, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 minutes away from my house. I don't have to drive over a bridge. And anybody who knows me, I don't like bridges. I don't like driving over bridges, and I don't like flying. Okay, so most of the cars I buy, they're up north. You know, because the further down south you go, the more bridges you go over. So I tend to go up north as opposed to going down south. So this was it was a cool car. It was a car that the gentleman owned for 20 some odd years. And, you know, the weather kind of beat it up a little bit. He had painted it probably 25, 30 years prior. And, you know, it started showing its age. It really did. You know, some of the paint was coming through. So I look at it, I start the car up, it runs, starts right up, brakes are good, everything. It was actually a running, driving car. It wasn't bad looking. So I bring the car home. Excuse me. I bring it to the garage. I take it off the trailer, and like every car, I always step back, I scratch my head and say, what am I going to do with this? So I'm looking at the car. This was a Monday. I'm looking at the car, and then I'm like, I'm going to paint this car. So Monday night, I got all my materials. Monday, I get all my materials. Tuesday, I started on the car. I got right on the bodywork, and it was very little, so I hit every bad spot on the car. I primed it. I get it all ready for paint. I scuff painted the whole car down. It was a single stage paint. I scuff painted the whole car down. I taped off whatever I didn't want painted, and I took off whatever I didn't want painted. I painted that car in 24 hours. And my buddies, they laugh at me all the time. They're like, hey, Al, why wash it when you can paint it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so, because you could just get them done like that. It's amazing. So I took the car down. I painted the car. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Here we go. I have to say that was one easy car to paint. It was a single stage paint. The paint laid on it like glass. You could see the shine. That car wasn't touched. I mean, I guess if you polished it really good, it really, really would have had really, really good depth to it. But it was just one of those cars that I'm like, wow, it's got so much potential, and it just needed a little bit of work to get it to that potential to where you can actually wash it, wax it, and do whatever you want with it. So I put that car on a Monday. Tuesday, I painted it. Wednesday, it was all finished on Wednesday. My buddy bought the car for me Wednesday afternoon. He's like, wow. I was like, the car doesn't look bad at all. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Listen, these cars aren't mint. To me, a mint car is a brand new car in a showroom. They're not mint. They're nice. It's something that you can drive somewhere, get out of it, and look at it when you're walking away going, you know what, yeah, that is a pretty cool car. So that was that car. So like I say, not all the cars I did are Rust-Oleum. A lot of them I do in automotive paint, and I can actually paint pretty decent if I'm interested in doing it. So that was just one of the fun cars that I put together. So I'm going to show you another car now, because not only do I'll paint the car in Rust-Oleum, you can prime a car in Rust-Oleum. You buy the flat black, and you prime it in Rust-Oleum, and it almost looks like hot rod black. So here's a car that I bought. It was sitting upstate for years. No motor, no tranny. It was in pretty bad shape. It needed quarters, floors, trunk pan. The rockers were pretty good though. The rockers were nice and the frame wheels were good. So it was solid where I wanted it. The shock towers were solid. So I bring the car to my garage and I start working on the car. But this is a car, when I bought it, I knew I wasn't going to get it up and running and driving, because certain cars I look at and go, this is where I got to stop, because if I don't, it's just going to burn me out and it takes all the fun away from it, for me anyway. So I bought this car, I take the quarters off, I do all the work to it, and take a look at it, all right? Here we go. that was a car, if anybody looked at it, nobody wanted it. And a lot of the parts I had, so I ended up changing the quarters on the car, the rear tail panel, the trunk pan, the floor pans. I threw a set of rallies on it. I brought the car back to the point to where somebody could say, hey, I could finish it from here. They could put their drivetrain in it. They could put their interior in it, things like that. So those are the cars that I like to find, because really people just give up on them. And it's a shame too, because you don't have to. And it doesn't take you that long. I mean, these cars are so doable, and that's why I try to post these videos. These cars are really so doable, you know, and you don't have to do them all right away. You know, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. What happens is people look at a car and they don't touch it. A week goes by, then a month goes by, then a year goes by. But if they would have touched the car once in that week or twice in that week, maybe for 4 hours, in that year, you would be surprised at how much work you can get done on the car. You don't have to get it all done right away. Especially if you're not familiar with it, take your time with it. But they're so doable. So that's one of the reasons why I really started doing these YouTube videos, you know, just show you. They are very doable. So I just want to show you that. And I want to thank you also. I'm sorry, I've been so sick the last 2 weeks. I really haven't gotten anything done. I haven't touched scraps in probably 2 weeks. And now I'm just starting to get back to myself. So I think maybe tomorrow I might jump on scraps. I might even get it up and running tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I don't know, maybe the next day I'll get it up and running. I have all the parts. I have everything I need to get it up and running. So maybe I'll jump on that maybe tomorrow. I'll see if Mr. Wilson's doing anything. Maybe he'll come over and give me a hand really quick and we just run right through that car. But, you know, I like to post these videos every Friday just to show you some of the cars that I've done through the years. And I have tons and tons of cars that I've had through the years that I could show you. And I hope you enjoy these videos. And I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. So, you know, like I say, as always, I appreciate you guys watching. And you guys take care of yourselves. And have an awesome weekend. Take care.